Hi guys, welcome back. This is Crystal with Emerson Aurora Design, and today I'm going to show you how I made this coloring book inspired tumbler, otherwise known as the tumbler that gave me such a headache that it almost ended up in the trash tumbler. This is the final pictures of this tumbler, and it was a lesson in patience for sure. I'm going to show you my process. So I printed out on printable vinyl this lovely image of Hedwig from Harry Potter. It is a coloring book image, and I'm using a 25-ounce straight tumbler from Hog, the stainless steel depot. So I had this grand idea for this tumbler, and if you guys ever had a grand idea and you have a picture in your head of how you want it to turn out, and you try to get it to look the way that you picture in your head, but it just keeps giving you roadblock. I can't even talk, you guys. Roadblock after roadblock during the process. That is this tumbler. But I'm going to show you my process, and this is the footage of when the tumbler somewhat turned out the way I wanted it. So I'm just trimming off those white edges on that vinyl, and I am going to apply that to my cup. This cup here is sanded and then washed just to give it some grip. I am going to tell you that this beginning portion where I'm putting this on a stainless steel tumbler was the first one of these cups I made, because it ended up in my chuck it bucket to be stripped. So I kept this footage in because this is the part that worked out for me. But later on you'll see that I did use a different cup that was actually base painted white. So I'm just showing you how this fits to this tumbler. It hangs off the edge, the top and the bottom just a little bit. And there's a gap at the back, but I'm going to fix that later. So I'm going to peel this vinyl apart, which is a little bit challenging in itself, and line it up with this tumbler and roll it out. You'll see. Anyway, since this tumbler does not have a taper to it, it's really easy to get it straight. So I'm just sitting it up so that I know that it's straight, and then just peeling the backing and rolling my tumbler as I go to try to prevent any air bubbles underneath that vinyl. This isn't going to meet up in the back. There is a gap, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I'm going to fix that later on here. So I'm just rubbing that vinyl down and make sure it sticks really well and make sure it has a good seal. I'm going to show you how I trim the bottom and the top of that vinyl. I'm taking 2 popsicle sticks and just taping these together, and I'm going to use a brand new blade in my craft knife, and I'm going to make my own little edging tool. You could purchase edging tools online for $20. I don't have one, so I decided to make my own like this. I'm just holding that blade really tight up to the cup and on top of the popsicle stick to give it a little bit of a lip there, and running the blade across the vinyl. This worked great. There's really no need to buy a $20 tool, but if you like it, that's fine, you can do that. This printable vinyl is a bit challenging to peel up, so I just peeled it up like that. And I did the same to the top there. Instead of putting my blade on a popsicle stick, I'll show you here that I just laid it flat against the table because I didn't want as big of a gap at the top. And at the end, it doesn't really matter how high this gap is because I'm going to cover it with spray paint. So now I'm going to do the fun part. This is like my little coloring book portion. I'm going to use alcohol inks. And I have several different colors by Tim Holtz and Pinata. I can list those in the description below, but I wanted to go for like purples, blues, and magentas. And this is just a little cut up makeup brush that I purchased from Dollar Tree, and some Q-tips, and a little spray bottle of 91% isopropyl alcohol. I'm wearing gloves because I make a mess. But I'm just going to dab the alcohol inks kind of in random order. I just want it to look like a nice little gradient. The background only. I am not painting the owl at all right now. So I'm just blending those colors in together until they look nice. I continue to blend, blend, blend over top of each color until it becomes the color, the opacity that I want. This is a translucent, obviously alcohol ink's translucent, but the more you layer on top, kind of the thicker it gets, I guess. So I'm going all the way around the cup, except I'm not doing the owl at all. The owl's gonna have a different, something different on it, and you'll see it here in a little while. I'm just going around, and I'll use the Q-tips to get a little closer to that owl. And make sure you get your bottom, make sure you get the top, make sure you get the side where there's the gap, and just have fun with it. There's no right or wrong. Now you're probably wondering, why is she covering up all of the coloring book lines? Well, this is the base. You'll see what I do here later. Uh, like I said, this was a grand idea I had. So you'll see here in a little while what I do to accentuate those lines. So it's okay if some of those lines are covered with that alcohol ink. That's the point. I wanted this to be the base. So I'll just let you watch this part. So here you can see I'm going in with a Q-tip just to get those finer areas around the bird filled in. And just put a little bit of rubbing alcohol on the Q-tip itself and just dab in the little crevices there so that there's a more defined edge with the alcohol ink to the bird there. The bird's going to stay white because Hedwig is white, and I'm just kind of going in there and trying to paint this on. Alcohol inks are nice to work with because they make such a beautiful translucent color effect, water, you know, like a watercolor effect, but they also dry very quickly. So they're very easy to work with. And you can see how pretty that looks. I'm going to go in with a little spray bottle of isopropyl alcohol, and I'm just going to hold it far away from the cup and just spray the mist. This helps to blend those inks and it gives it a nice texture. You don't want to hold that bottle too close because it will model those colors too much or make the colors drip. So just be careful. I have it probably about a foot away from the cup, just doing a fine mist over most of it. So once the alcohol inks are dry, I went in and I did put on a layer of resin. You can see that it's really shiny. I wanted to seal those alcohol inks in for this next part. So this next part I am going to apply mica using the tack it method. This is tack it. I'm just going to put a little bit in a cup and I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to water it down half to 50-50 and I'm going to paint it directly on Hedwig and let that dry until it's tacky. You'll see me do that here in just a second. And then I'm going to brush on some pretty pearl mica powder to really make Hedwig have a little bit of a pop. You know, he just looks kind of flat and boring with no color. So I'm just painting this on with a little paintbrush, trying to keep my paintbrush strokes even and smooth. I'm going in to each feather, just going in and making sure that I have all of Hedwig covered with the tacket. Now I am leaving the little Hogwarts acceptance letter. I'm not going to paint that at this time. I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to have it be white. I'm going to go in with gold leaf here in a little while. So you'll see me just kind of brushing this on. Like I said, it's okay if you're going over those lines. We're going to add lines to it here in a little while. But just brush it on and then we'll do the micas and you'll see how I do it. You want that tacket to dry after this part before you lay down that powder, because if you put that powder on while the tacket's wet, it's just going to make a mess. So now I'm going to get out my micas. I'm using this mica that I purchased from, I believe I got these from Amazon. I can leave a link in the description below. It is a pearl sparkle mica, I believe. It's hard to tell right here, but once you see it on Hedwig, you could see how pretty it is. So I'm taking this little makeup brush that I have that I purchased from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to brush it right over that tacket. It's okay if you go out of the lines. Just remember there's only tacket where the bird is, so if it goes off onto the resin, that's perfectly fine. And that's why I covered the alcohol ink background with resin before this step. It's important because if you do the mica and you don't resin before and you're going straight over the alcohol ink, the uncovered alcohol ink may catch some of that mica, and then you'll have a mess on your hands trying to clean it up. So with a resin base and then the tack it just on the bird, it makes it so easy to do this step. A little goes a long way with mica, so I'm just kind of brushing it over, rubbing it around, make sure that it gets everywhere that I want it, and kind of rubbing in circles and making sure it's going to cover. This was a fun part, watching this come together, and Hedwig really looks pretty afterwards. So I'm just tapping it off, and I'm going to get a bigger brush, and you'll see how I brush this off. First I'm going to use, I have like a fan brush, that's what I'm using. It's hard to tell because this is sped up, but and then I'm going to take a paper towel. This is just dry paper towel. You don't want to use a wet paper towel because mica will stick and then you'll have it everywhere. But I'm just wiping off the excess powder, and I'm rubbing towards Hedwig because that way if any powder's on there, it won't smear onto the background. It'll just go right onto Hedwig, if that makes sense. So you can see that the little letter is unpainted, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that here in a minute. We're going to make it special because it is a special letter. See that pearl? Isn't that pretty? Now don't worry, we're going to add lines later, so it's okay that it's muted. Now we're going to add a little bling bling. We're going to add gold leaf to that letter, that Hogwarts acceptance letter. I bought this big package of gold and silver leaf from Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below. It is very pretty, but it's very delicate and it makes a mess, so just be aware of that. I tried to contain my mess as best as I could, and I think I did a pretty good job this time. But you can see some of it's silver, some of it's gold, I think some is platinum. So this is just a little brush again with my tack-it. I'm going to paint just on that letter, and I'm going to let that tack-it dry completely before I add my gold leaf. You can use glue stick, tack-it, anything really, even Elmer's glue, to put down gold leaf, but using the paintbrush, I had more control over where that tack-it was going to go. So I'm just taking little pieces with my tweezers and tapping it down on the letter. I'm trying not to go out of the lines too much. I've had trouble with gold leaf in the past on resin cups. My resin is obviously completely cured, but sometimes it likes to grab hold of that gold leaf. Once I'm done, I'm going to spray some 2x clear gloss on that. I want to cover that gold leaf and the mica and seal it right in. And now I'm going to add a little bit of pop to Hedwig's eye. This is a little bit of Baja Blue alcohol ink on an itty bitty little brush, and I'm just brushing in Hedwig's eyes. I'm making them blue. I thought that was neat. It gave it a little pop of color. He needed it. Use a itty bitty tiny bit of alcohol ink because that will roll around on there, so that's all I did. After this, I'm going to go in with some resin and let that fully cure. So this is after the resin's fully cured. And this here, this image, I printed on clear sticker paper. It's the same image that I put on my base. It's that coloring book image, but I put it on the clear sticker paper. I attempted this cup in the twice. This is the second time of me doing this cup. The first time I thought, oh, I'll use water slide. That'll be great to put the lines on, the the top image on to outline the lines. But it was a nightmare putting a full image wrap of water slide in a specific area on the cup so that all the lines lined up, and it was a nightmare. It did not fit on there right, and I ended up putting it in my chuck it bucket, like I said. So this time I was like, well, I'll use something sturdier. This is the sticker paper, and it's clear, so it should do the same. So I don't know why I fumble so much here, and you'll see me kind of fumbling because of course, I'm a brainiac and didn't put anything under my cup to stabilize it. But I cut just a slit. I put the two sides of the backing on there so that the whole image won't stick down immediately. And I'm trying to line up Hedwig's face and from his feet up to the top of the cup, if that makes sense. But I'm trying to line up his face basically with the lines of the coloring book image. And I did get his face and everything, and this was a challenge. And honestly, guys, I would never ever do this cup again. It was such a challenge. I was pretty proud of myself. I was able to get that lined up really well. But you'll see as I wrap the wrap around the cup, the farther it gets away from his face, the more kind of double image you'll see. The feathers were hard to line up, partially because I think that because I put layers of resin, on top of the other image, it just the I can't even talk. The dimensions changed. Does that make sense? The dimensions changed, so, and this sticker paper is not stretchy. So I wasn't able to line it up all the way around. You'll see, it looks like a double image kind of towards his wings. And you'll see how I fixed that. I wasn't gonna chuck this cup out. I was bound and determined to finish this cup and make it look good. So I'll let you watch me struggle here. So you can see his face is lined up really well, but not so much towards the edge, and you can kind of see it here. But that's okay. I just keep going. So I'm gonna cut the bottom and the top like I did before with the vinyl, um, and then peel it off. This is when I decided, you know what? I'm going to use the Dawn Power Wash method to cover up my mistake. And that's what I do. And you know what, guys? I lost the footage to me spraying it. And so I apologize. And if you don't know what I mean by the Dawn Power Wash spray method, watch my video on my unicorn splash tumbler, and I do that on that one too. So I'm just gonna slick it down. I'm gonna slap a coat of resin on this puppy, and I'm gonna go outside after that resin is cured and do the Dawn power wash. Here it is after that. So I kept the front of it, you know, I didn't want to cover Hedwig up, but see how it goes more towards the wings. I covered up the double image look. So I think I did a good job of hiding that. It looks like he's coming out of the mist. So hey, you know what? At least it looks more realistic. I'm going to spray a little isopropyl alcohol on the cup and just kind of wipe it away. It gets rid of the foggy areas and shows more of those bubble spots that the Dawn dish soap makes. I don't use acetone because that would smear the paint everywhere, but isopropyl alcohol kind of cleans it up a little bit. You don't want to do too much though because it would take the paint off. So at this point I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I think it turned out better though than I thought it was when I put that sticker on. So he's kind of cute, I guess. But I didn't want to waste another cup, so it is what it is. So I'm going to cut out a word, always, using the Harry Potter symbols and Harry Potter font. And I'm using HTV vinyl, heat transfer vinyl. Yeah, HTV vinyl. You guys, I'm on a roll today. And I'm showing you how you can put that on a cup. I'm just using a little heat gun here. It's nice because the transfer paper for HTV is sticky. So you can lay that down in your spot and then just go through the heat gun and apply heat to those spots. And then I use a hot pad or a washcloth to kind of push that down, because be very careful, you guys. This will make your cup very hot. This is really pretty glitter HTV, and I just thought it needed a little bit of bling because you know me, I love glitter. So just keep going over it until that is really stuck down. Now applying a lot of heat can make your epoxy a little soft. This one didn't make my epoxy soft because it was really cured. I think I let it sit for a couple days before I did this. So just be aware that it could soften your epoxy and it will make your cup hot since it's a metal cup. But I'm just going to peel that off and reveal this sparkly goodness. My Cricut kind of cut through the transfer vinyl a little bit, and so some of the letters were still covered by the that sheet of plastic. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm peeling that off. I don't use heat transfer vinyl too often on my cups, but I think I should more because it's so much easier to weed. Have you guys used heat transfer vinyl on your cups yet? When I'm doing a large decal, I think it's easier than doing something that would be really fine, you know, and intricate. So that's why I think that this one worked out really well. After this is, you know, kind of cooled down, I will put a layer of resin on here, and then I will be all done. So I'll show you guys the final cup here in just a minute. It'll pop up here. I just want to take this time to say thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate all the wonderful feedback that I've been getting, and I think it's wonderful to have such a supportive art community that Tumbler makers are. It just warms my heart, and I thank you so much. I want you guys to know that I really appreciate you all, and you know, try something new, step out of the box. If you have some time from, you know, your regular orders, try a new technique. The worst thing that can happen is that you have to strip the cup, but at least you tried, and maybe you'll come up with something cool. I want you guys to know that I love making these videos for you, and I just hope you have a wonderful time making this beautiful art. Happy crafting, everybody.